Okay, this video is going to be about writing expressions. This is just an introductory video or explanation, and really, to write expressions, to get proficient at it, it really just takes practice. So hopefully these will be some good ideas to get you started and maybe some instructions. But I think you'll find that really it's hard to include every little scenario that you might come across, and as with many things, it just takes a little bit of practice, and then once you do more, you'll hopefully get more comfortable with how to do these. So I wrote down some helpful tips to kind of get you started and thinking in the right direction. First is look for numbers in the problem. Sometimes it's hidden in words. Okay, so what I mean by this is sometimes the words, the numbers will be written with the number, for example, 2 or 5 or 10. Sometimes the words will be written out. So instead of writing the number 5, they'll write F-I-V-E or that kind of thing. And then sometimes there's hidden numbers in the words in the problem, and you might not recognize it at first. And maybe you'll see things like half a dozen, or triple would be 3, half a dozen would be 6, right? Maybe you'll see, trying to think of some other, double, like I said, twice as many, those kinds of things. Half would, and so sometimes you'll read, and then there'll be numbers, but they won't be maybe obvious at first when you first read it. And the next thing is not so much for expressions, but for equations especially. Oftentimes when you say something, something, something is, whatever, the is indicates that there should be an equal sign in there. And you'll see more of those when we get into the one-step equations and those kinds of things. Next tip is look for operations in the words and write the symbol above the words for the operation. So what I mean by this is increased by a number would be adding, right? And maybe obviously multiply or times would be multiplication, but as I said earlier, triple would mean times 3, multiplied times 3. So just look for those things. We'll do a few. I'll show you a chart in just a second that kind of explains more of that. The last tip is look for words that indicate an unknown and give that a variable letter. So if it says by some number, you can label that X or N. Sometimes N is maybe better to not get it mixed up with multiplication. But if it says what is, then maybe that will be a variable for the what is. You don't know what it is yet. Okay, let's look at now a chart of some examples of how words or operations appear as words. Here's a chart that I'd like you to copy down. It's from one of the textbooks. And you can see here words for addition are plus, the sum of, increased by, total, more than, added to. Now, and then subtraction. I'm not going to read all of them because you can read them, but be a little bit careful. Right, we are going to be studying equations and expressions and inequalities. And so you'll want to be careful if more than is indicating a greater than or less than sign, or if more than is indicating an addition and less than is subtraction. So you should be able to discern that from the context, but just be careful. Sometimes more than can mean addition, and sometimes they're having you write an inequality. Okay, and here's another few, the quotient of. One more note on this page here. Subtraction also can be a little tricky because if you have, for example, 8 minus a number, right? That's pretty easy. But if you have 3 fewer than a number, for example, 3 fewer than a number, you can't write 3 minus n. 3 fewer than a number, you would need to put the n first and then minus 3. So, for example, if I said 3 fewer than 8, you wouldn't write 3 minus 8. You would write 8 minus 3. Okay, and again, we'll try to do some practice, but just be careful that sometimes in English you can't just write word for word what it is. You have to kind of look at the context and think about it a little bit. Okay, if you didn't finish copying down that chart, please pause the video now and finish copying it down. Okay, now I just have a few very short examples for you. Definitely can't cover everything, but 5 increased by some number. 5 increased by some number. So we can see that 5 is in words here, but we'll write a 5. Let's see if I can get a different color here. I'll just do yellow. 5. Oops. Increased by, okay, we should know that to be addition. And some number, we don't know what the number is, so we're going to give it the variable n. Hopefully your n doesn't look like an h like mine. So this is a pretty easy one. 5 plus n. And now this is just an expression, so there's no equal sign, and so we're done. A dozen less than a full box. Okay, so this one's a little tricky. We know a dozen is 12, so I'm going to go ahead and write 12 there. Less than indicates subtraction. As I said before, we have to be a little careful if we're going to put this in order or not. And then a full box, okay, for my variable, I guess I could write F, but I think I'm going to write B for box, okay? Now, if I have a dozen less than a full box, I'm going to use an example. If a full box is 30, there's 30 cans or something in a full box, then I'm going to say 12 minus 30. I don't think that's right. 12 less than a full box. If a full box was 30, I think I would do 30 minus 12 and get 18. So this case, we're going to write a dozen less than a full box. I don't know how many are in a full box. I just made up that number to get an example. I need to write B. Actually, you don't need to write the little quotation marks there. I just did that for effect. But B minus, because we know that, again, the operation is subtraction, and then 12. That it indicates 12 less than a full box B. Okay. 2 more. 8 more than twice a number. Okay. So again, you got to be these start to get a little tricky now. 8. Okay. We know. I'm gonna just say that's 8 more than. Okay, is addition in this case. Twice a number. Well, twice is 2 times something. So I'm going to write 2 times. That little dot indicate multiplication. Oh, messed that all up. And then a number. I'm going to write n for my number. So 2 times, let's see, 8 more than twice a number. So 2 times a number. And then it's going to be 8 more than that. So I need to add this 8 last. Okay, that's 8 more than 2 times a number. Now the next one, I purposely made it very similar, but it's not the same answer. Twice, again, is 2 times as many as 8. Separate there. Plus a number n. So in this case, twice as many as 8 plus a number n. It's going to be 8 plus n, and then 2 times that amount. So I'm going to put the 2 out here. And you can see if you were to, factor or use the distributive property that 2n plus 8 is different than 2 times 8 plus n. Well, just to give an example, if n was 5, we'd have 2 times 5 is 10, plus 8 is 13. Well, if n is 5 here, 8 plus 5 is already, sorry, did I say 13? 18, right? 2 times 5, 10, plus 8, 18. If n was 5 here, 8 plus 5 would be 13, and 13 times 2 would be 26, so it's not the same answer. So anyway, that's very quick, basic instruction, and we'll do some practice in class, and I think that with practice you'll get it. All right, thank you for watching.